Can you give us some information about Ymere? What do you think is the importance of it to the social housing sector here in Amsterdam?
What?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Well, it's the biggest.
Yeah, the oldest and the biggest
Yeah.
housing association in the Netherlands. So it's existing already from around 1850, something like that. So, and then there were smaller groups of people providing social housing for certain groups. Ymere grew bigger and bigger because of the combination of all these social housing companies. Around 1850 they did see it was necessary to provide housing for people, and right now it's still really important to have housing for people. There's a really big shortage of housing, and we build a lot to provide.
Do you know how many units do you deliver per year?
Yes, around 500.
So
And together at the moment we have about 78,000 units. So we're really, yeah. Well, we indeed, what Timme said, we are sort of consisting of all small housing corporations that all went together. And so Ymere is, and so sometimes you still notice this, that some come from this housing corporation, but now it's all in this one big Ymere.
And I don't know if you know this in your class, but what is the financial model? Do you build also for private free sector and you get income from that, or?
No, we're not allowed to anymore. Sometimes we do sell property because the old houses that we have, their value is so much, especially in the center of Amsterdam. So we sometimes need that to make, like, sometimes we say like we sell one and we can buy 2 new ones in a less popular area. So it's very difficult to keep our Ymere financially healthy. I mean, yeah, because of the high land value, it's very difficult to make housing that we can afford. Yeah, and also our tenants, of course.
But when you see the history, there are flows in this. So there has been a period where there was more possible for housing associations, and Ymere did it too. So they had a really big property development department, but it changed because of the regulations, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or not?
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, indeed, you're right. We were able to develop also for private ownership, but that's, I think, in 2015 or something. Then our government said you have to focus on your core business, and that is making housing for people with not so much money. Yeah.
So can you outline us the process of developing new housing? Where do you get the land? How do you contract? Do you contract architects? Do you contract construction?
En dat is denk ik meer voor mij. We do have positions sometimes. So like in a piece of land that we know in the future will be developed, we have a piece of land there. So that is one way we do it. So then we develop ourselves. But sometimes you also in Amsterdam you have the Amsterdamse Federatie van Woningcorporaties. And that is sort of, hoe zeg je dat? Overkoepelend.
Like a land bank?
No, it's not a land bank. It's more like all the corporations in Amsterdam are combined within exactly. So, and then, in Amsterdam now you have the 40% social, 40% mid-income, and 20% high-income housing in each plot. So this 40% has to be done by one of the corporations. So then the AFWC, the Amsterdam Federation of Housing Corporations, they have this sort of, there's a new development and they say like 40% has to be social. And then one of the corporations says, okay, this is in my area, I want to do this. Or so that's another way of doing it. And sometimes the third way is that a private developer is making is developing like a plot, and he also has to make 40% for social housing. So then he's also looking for one of the corporations who wants to participate in my development, and that's another way of doing it. Yeah, and so and the fourth one is that that we that within one of these developments, the private developer says, I've made an apartment building already, or the design process is quite far. Do you want to buy it? That's another way of doing it. So these are like different ways of.
Which one would you think is the most common in Amsterdam?
For us, well, for Ymere, the most common is that we develop ourselves. But at the moment, because the production is getting down because of the high costs and the interest is rising at the moment, so the production is not so much at the moment. And developers want to keep on going, so they're looking for corporations more often at the moment because of this development. Yeah, so then they don't get their development financially solvable. How do you say that? So then they're looking for a corporation. Can you please come in and buy a piece of it? So at the moment, an already developed building, quite far in the design process, is more common than it used to be like 5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, is dat een beetje begrijpelijk?
Yeah, very clear.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's getting something more in the process. Before we worked in co-making, and we still do it. That's the main
That's
part
we
of
develop
our
ourselves.
work, how we develop ourselves. And we have 4 preferred suppliers, building contractors, call it like that. And we have already a process with them. So that makes it more easy for us to build, and not every time we want to build something we have to have what is, of course we need to know what it's going to cost, but we have already afspraken daarover, how do you call it? Contracts, and it makes us more easy for us to build faster and cheaper, and that works really good for us.
And architects, do you choose them? Or
Yeah. That is sort of my responsibility within Ymere and the arrangement of it. So what we do, one of these co-makers, a contractor, the developer within Ymere and me, we are choosing with the 3 of us, we're choosing an architect. And we usually ask 3 architectural offices for like an interview for about an hour with the show projects that are more or less relevant for this project that they are going to do. And also like a very short vision on the project. So what do you think is the best way to do this? And then we choose one of the 3. Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So question to both of you. When are you involved in this process? You are involved.
Yeah, I am. Well, because I was an architect before, so my task is also like choosing this, organizing this selection. But also I keep track of all the architectural offices as much as I can. So I also know like maybe this is a good one, this is a good one, this is a good one. And on the other hand, I'm also especially in the beginning of a design process, I will sort of follow it because I have spatial knowledge. So I follow it and I say like, this is not really how we thought it should be. So maybe a little bit more this or a little bit more that, and then so yeah. And I'm here.
I'm a quality manager.
Yeah.
I'm more in the back office of the real estate development. What we do with the team of quality managers is we provide tools for the development teams to make quality. And it can be a planning, it can be the program, and we also measure things, and we do a feedback loop. So we have also what you did, questionnaire for the tenants to check how the floor plan, if they have some interesting knowledge or how they use it, and if they're comfortable with the sounds or what they hear, and everything in the building. We check it a bit, so for further developments we can use that.
So, in general, what do you think about the quality of housing in Amsterdam, in new builds? Not only Ymere projects, but in general.
Well, I pity a bit that they're getting smaller and smaller because of this land value. So, of course, there's another way of looking at it. If you look at the environment and all the issues that are going on, it's maybe not that bad to build a little bit smaller. But the studios, for instance, is not really a house with lots of quality, I would say. I mean, and now we're developing a new spatial program of demands. Yeah, so heeft toch? And we say that studios should be no more than like 10% of a new development. So a bit small, but I think the quality in the way of what you're more concerned with sound and heating and all these things, I think the quality is really high. Yeah. Yeah, ik denk dat het wel spatial is. Also because there's like this system of you get some points in each apartment. So, and the amount of points that you get, it's quality points, like how big is your kitchen, how big is your living room, things like that you get points for. And the higher or the more points you have, the more rent you can ask. But you don't get points, for instance, for an entrance. So what you see is that the entrance is gone. So you come in a hallway and it's quite narrow. So these things, because there's so much pressure in terms of financial pressure to get it done anyhow. So that these things, they I think are not really positive for the quality. But I mean, that is maybe a bit too negative because, well, one positive thing I already said. And sometimes you see, there are also, of course, very nice houses. But you see it's getting smaller and smaller. Yeah. That is, yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. It's the size is really, that's why we're working on this special program. It's getting more important when you design smaller houses to have regulations about that. How you can use it really, really good or flexible, because all tenants can be different, but sometimes the architect chooses just one way, you can use it one way, and sometimes we even see it that it's difficult to use.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want. We want a good building for tenants, and I think that's the time we are in. With the money we have, it's a really difficult balance between architecture, functionality, and money, and technical things. So when you have all these things in balance, it works, but you have to work for that and know a lot to accomplish that.
So you say it's the main challenge is money.
The
land value
the land value, and also because there's such a big shortage. If you have to choose between like 20 bigger apartments or 30 smaller, it's also one of the arguments. Like you have 30 people that you've helped with a house. So that makes it sometimes, and you should not only look at now, but also for the 50 years to come. So sometimes that makes it a bit, it's so much pressure now at this moment that sometimes I think you lose sight of that you're making a city and you're making buildings for like the next century. Yeah. Yeah. So that indeed this balance is difficult.
And there's a disbalance in the market.
Yeah.
So when the people have a choice, they won't choose for a studio because they want their bed not in their living room. But do they have a choice? Not in Amsterdam, I guess,
exactly.
or you have to wait for a long time.
Yeah.
But when you live in another province of the Netherlands, maybe it will work. But then you
Yeah.
don't live in Amsterdam, so
Yeah.
there is not a really a market here, I guess.
Mm. So you say to ensure that the housing that you deliver is of high quality, you have a functional and spatial program of requirements?
Well, we did only have a functional
Okay.
program of requirements,
Yeah,
but we're at the moment working on a spatial one
okay.
because this is somehow in 2007 we still had one, but I think also this development of working with the co-makers, with the fixed contractors, I think there was a sort of idea like we're going to make good houses and they have a lot of knowledge, so it will be good. But then now we see that the quality is not as good as we expected. So now you really have to make like a minimum requirement in terms of spatial, of like how big a sleeping room should be or things like that. That was, I mean, we only had the law, the bouwbesluit, but that's really, really minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you only look at that, you can make houses that are, I think, don't have a high standard in spatial, in space. Yeah.
So
Spaces.
the one you have at the moment, not the one you're developing,
Mm-hmm.
it only refers to, let's say, how many bedrooms, functional?
No, that is no. It's more technical. It's more like if you have a bathroom, the tile should be this and this rough, so you don't slip.
Okay.
Things like that, or the ventilation.
Yeah, there are some
or,
spatial parts in it too.
Yeah,
But
not so many.
so many
Yeah.
as we think we want. So
Yeah.
we make it a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And you want architects to know about this part, but sometimes we see we need to check them.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
you hire the architect because you think they know all these things, but sometimes it is not. And that's the balance I told you about aesthetics, functionality, technical, money. And functional is really important for our tenants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you do it afterwards, like when they're halfway in the design process, we want this, then it's not going to happen anymore. So this is also the reason why we want to make this.
Mm-hmm.
So you notice that as soon as you give it as programs at the start of a design process, then many things are much easier to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
So that now that you're developing it, who is involved? I mean, what departments are involved, and what evidence you use in developing these things? What is it based on?
Well, that is we are involved with it. So that is conceptontwikkeling and quality management, kwaliteitsmanagement. So that's the two of us at the moment. But that's only because we started it. And as soon as we have sort of a little booklet, we're gonna go through all the departments within Ymere, so everybody can say something about it. And so we have a discussion, like, is this really what we want? And also, like the investigation that we did beforehand was lots of programs of demand. So the Alliantie we used, but also the old one that we had in 2007. And also Woonkeur, that is, precies. And she can explain with me later. Well, so lots of programs. We all put them next to each other, and then we set and we made the first decision. Like if you look at all those bedrooms, we think like this is a good one. Also looking at our own program from 2007, and then our choices. We're gonna look in. We're gonna. Distribute these in the Ymere and see what other people say. Yeah, so?
Yes, and that's the first part, so the quick
win.
the quick part.
Yeah.
And then it was really interesting you approached us because we wanted to do kind of the same.
Yeah.
So to check, we are making small floor plans of rooms we want, or only the parts we think our tenants use in the. So we checked IKEA, and what were the measurements, and then we put it in the floor plans and see what buildings we made are better than others, and then we have also the tenants to check that and how they use it. But you were a bit earlier maybe doing kind of the same.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, and why we're also interested to participate in this.
Yeah.
Well, we can share with you some of our findings. You wouldn't believe what people do in small spaces, how they are very creative. But so just one question, because you said in the absence of this spatial requirement, you are consulting
Bouwbesluit.
But as far as I understand, there is the design document from the Association of all.
The woonstandaard.
Yeah, all standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you also use that?
We that was one of the bases that we researched to make our own. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Woonstandaard yeah.
Okay. And you took the decision to develop a new spatial requirement?
Yeah, more or less. Well, we together, it was a bit like, I'm an architect myself, so I came here and I was like, huh? Isn't there a spatial program? I was really surprised. And then, because of my function, I see all the plans passing by, and I was like, how? If you just have a little bit more, and also for an architect, it's really nice if you have a client who really knows what he or she wants. So I thought we should make this, but there, of course, it's very busy in this. So it's now I'm working here for 3 years now. So now it's really getting somewhere. So but it was more or less a bit surprising for me that it wasn't there. Yeah.
So you think, I guess you answered this, but the existing regulations in Bouwbesluit are not, you think they're not sufficient to ensure quality?
No.
No? And how about environmental quality? Are there more technical regulations that are about the environmental comfort inside the house?
I think so. Yeah, dat denk ik wel. I think in this way it's maybe better. Because you have the milieuprestatie, you have all kinds of regulations that the government is making, and it's getting more and more strict. So in the end, you can only use bio-based materials, and you have your energy that is used by a house is getting less and less, and it gets to be energy positive in I think 10 years or so. So these regulations I think are very good, but the spatial regulations I think it's really too less.
Yeah.
Maybe it was good, so that's also maybe changing in the Netherlands, because what our manager Ymere was telling last interview, there was a check at the municipality.
Yeah.
Somebody was checking there if you could walk around the bed.
Yeah.
And this check isn't there anymore, and this person isn't there anymore. So this way of checking developments in Amsterdam changed, and maybe it's I think the market will provide quality, but I think it won't, and you have to check things, and that's kind of my role, to make a system where we can deliver quality of floor plans and other parts of the house.
Yeah, but I think this national law, like a Bouwbesluit, was always quite minimal. But indeed, on top of that, you had like each city or part of the country of province or whatever, they had their own rules on top of that, and that is gone now in Amsterdam at least.
You still have the welstand, but of course the role of the welstand is also changing a lot in cities and has been a lot of criticized as well.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, and I think maybe a little bit too much trust went out to the people that are making housing. Yeah.
You said something quite interesting. There is so much pressure at the moment that we are okay with developing some things that we don't think they are highest quality at the moment. And there is another challenge that we are facing now. How do we develop for long term? How do we build for particularly net zero carbon? What kind of quality measurements or technical standards do you develop to ensure that your housing will last for 30, 60, 90 years?
Ik denk ons beheersafdeling toch? Ja, de maintenance is, you have like building maintenance, a department within Ymere, and they look more at our housing like it is something that has value and it has to stay valuable. So in this way they look at it. So then you want to have, and also of course for our tenants, but also like Ymere as an owner. So so that is, I think, within Ymere also quite strong. In this way. So this is the way we look at our housing, and so it stays valuable in the future, I think.
I see. And so you maintain all the housing, right? Ymere maintains all the housing.
Yeah.
And are there people on site all the time? Okay, there's a housing
they drive
officer.
around, so you see the vans.
It's a system also in co-making.
Yeah.
So we have a department inside for smaller repairs. Other parts of the buildings are with co-makers, so you have co-makers of the facade or of the roof, and they provide us information about how to make a good to maintain building. So all these information our co-makers give to make as less costs as possible for maintaining the building. They provide that. So that's the way of co-making that innovation is possible. So we don't decide what's needed, but they can give us information about that.
For instance, in London we saw that housing associations use similar details or the same, even the buildings we went, they all had the same letterbox, same brand, same color, everything was the same in other parts of the cities. So they use the same material, same heating system, same kind of thing to make sure that their maintenance team knows how to repair things. But it drives a certain level of standardization, things start to look very similar. Is there a drive like that in Ymere?
Yeah, it's an interesting view. Of course, it makes it really easy, and you can have benefits when you buy the things and you know what to expect. I think you need to see it in balance. So not everybody likes the same color, or we do also in the concept development when we do make a new building. We have different groups of people, and one group likes this, the other group likes this, and it can be of influence to make the building. But for maintaining the building, it can be really interesting. But when you made the wrong choice, you have all the letterboxes wrong.
Yeah.
So I believe in the combination of the two. So don't make it all the same, but also don't do it that crazy. You have all different systems and you don't know anymore how to program the doorbell system because we do it ourselves, and when we have 10 types of it, it's difficult. So you need to be clever about things like that.
And it's funny that at the moment we have the Noord-Holland Bouwstroom. That is a group of housing corporations that work together to buy housing. And we have 3 different streams, like building streams. You have the flexible housing, so the housing that is only be put somewhere for 15 years and then can be taken away to go to another different location. And so you have the apartment buildings and you have the single family houses. And we participate in the flex, so the flexible housing that can be moved away. And now we try to develop one program of demands with, I think, 6 corporations, and it's really difficult. Because everybody, and I think, everybody has their own idea. I mean, how many meals for like one kitchen? It's incredible. Everybody gets really like, oh my god. So at the moment, it's just not like that at all. We all have our own ideas about what is good, and And another funny thing is that I think last week there was this preliminary design overleg meeting, and there was one architect who proposed like a round window in the door. And then one of the people that was there said like, but this is really difficult for maintenance, so that's probably not gonna happen, you know? So it's in this level that you see that you have to really look at what our maintenance can do. But on the other hand, if you look at our buildings, I don't think you see it at the moment. Denk je niet? Ik heb niet het idee. If you look at housing, like social housing from the 80s, 70s, 80s, you can point it out. Like this is social, this is not. And I think at the moment it's not that. No. And we think it's very important that you don't put this stigma on housing, social housing. So we really put a lot of effort in it. Yeah.
We have heard that from the participants in the North projects. They were quite, I think, happy that their housing looks very luxurious.
Yeah.
And I think that's very true, that that whole area that's being built, private, some social.
You cannot point it out. Yeah, and that's one of that, we do that on purpose. Yeah.
I think we don't have much time left, but do you have any questions?
I just have a couple of questions. I think something that we found quite unique, at least in the 2 developments that we were, was kind of the mix of people that, I'm not sure of the percentage, but that a certain percentage from a foundation gives housing to people, for example, that have certain vulnerabilities, mental health, homeless. How is that working for you in terms of design? Also, how do you, for example, decide who lives there and who doesn't? Like in terms of how do you ensure kind of social cohesion, social balance? Because we're aware of it has a lot of challenges. And it's a quite innovative model.
I'm not really able to answer this question, but what we do before the people go and live there, or when they are going to live there, there is a meeting with all the people in the house, in the building, and they make some meet each other, because that's really important to know your neighbors, and they have some making some rules with each other also. And I think sometimes we also ask people on forehand. In this program we will mix a bit. Are you open to that?
Yeah.
But this is something we need to check with maybe Ellen Manning.
Yeah.
Because she does this program, how do you call it? Prettig wonen doen samen. So living.
Matching target groups, I guess, like to placing people together by certain groups.
Yeah, well, we have to put like 30% of our tenants has to be like in a little bit of the vulnerable groups. And sometimes also we have this, when we think of a new project, we develop a concept for that. And sometimes we also match the concept with the sort of vulnerable people that are going to live there. So, for instance, one of the blocks that we make on this new area, Strand Eiland in Amsterdam, we said like, okay, so if we think about this 30% here, that can, for instance, be people that have like an autism challenge, because they are very individualistic, small houses with a lot of green around, so not too much prikkels,
Distraction.
Yeah, distraction. And another block we said like this is more for families, so maybe single parents or women that have problems with their ex-partner, so they can live there with their child and things. So we also think about that in these terms. And I don't know exactly how that went with Eenhoorn, but I know for sure that what you said, that beforehand they had to write something, or I don't know exactly how it went, but they had to do something so they knew what was going to what was to be expected. Yeah.
No, this was about the offer hook.
Eenhoorns.
Yeah.
Well, in both of them we had
Both
it.
of them?
Yeah, in both
Okay.
of them. I think another one the participant.
I mean, they told
mentioned
us
about the kitchen.
they told us the land was given because one of the tenants was explaining us this was a land from Shell,
Yeah.
and the land was given with the condition that 30% of the people are from this particular foundation. I don't know. It's
Oh.
like, and the
You know more than
foundation-
me. I don't know about
and the
it.
foundation was on the ground floor for 1 year, providing counseling to tenants. There are like 67 units, as far as I remember, 67 units in one of the developments, one of the buildings, which are all ex-homeless or.
But already, because I know in the Brinktoren, that's a new tower that's developing at the moment, or being built, that you have HVO Querido, that is indeed one of the organizations that provides housing for people that were homeless, but it's already there?
It finished, they left, I think.
Oh, okay.
The foundation
I didn't know that.
state that they had an
Yeah.
office on
Okay.
the ground floor for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they checked, well, they explained it. So they were given the houses on a probationary term. Like, so it was the foundation who was renting from you
Yeah,
for 1 year.
yeah, that's the same. How
And then
it's
the
going to-
foundation, I don't know who approves, they went, they looked at the units, they talked to residents, and once they approved, now they became your Ymere's tenants.
Ja, dat omklappen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you want to know more about that,
Yeah.
maybe it's good to ask at the department in Ymere, knowing lots more about it. But we
Yeah.
have sometimes a certain quotum of people from maatschappelijke.
Opvang.
maatschappelijke.
Kwetsbare doelgroep.
Ja.
Nee, ja, maatschappelijke uitstroom. Dus
Oké.
mensen die komen inderdaad. Ja. Yeah.
To provide them in housing,
Yeah.
and that's a system we have to.
Yeah.
That's more on the rental department.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want to know more about that, we can maybe provide you with a name and email
I
address.
felt it was really unique to the Netherlands context. That's why
Yeah.
we hadn't seen it
Yeah,
in other situations, and we didn't know about it beforehand. So I think it was
Also,
interesting to learn it from participants.
also for us, the Netherlands is unique because the people actually living in social housing are not sort of at the very bottom of economically. They are
Of the ones that you looked at.
compared to other countries. That's
Oh,
what I
really?
mean.
Yeah,
Okay.
comparison, maybe not
Yeah,
with the
when you
Netherlands.
see
Yeah.
a new survey, it was not bottom maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, that could be.
No,
yeah.
because in the Netherlands, 1/3 of all housing is social housing.
Mhm.
In the UK, it's 1/5
Mhm.
of all housing.
Mm.
So the people who are in social housing are
Yeah.
more vulnerable
Yeah.
than
I understand.
They've had to reduce kind of
Yeah.
those income brackets quite a bit more.
yeah.
But the income that you're allowed to have to get into social housing is quite low.
Mm.
So if you have like two people that are working together, like two parents with children, you're earning too much already.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's always one.
So then studios make sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like a family that has only one parent working.
Oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
yeah, but it's quite easy to earn too much. Yeah. Yeah.
I just have one last question if you have time. It's 4:07.
Yeah.
In Einhorn,
Yeah.
the communal kitchen, you know, the laundries, all those aspects, were they Ymere's decisions or architects' decisions?
Yeah, and the decisions.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
pretty good.
want-
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice history. There used to be. I mean, for instance, like 80 houses there. They were demolished, and now there are 320. So that was one of the. Well, maybe the numbers are not exactly right, but a lot more houses were being built back. And because you're so close to a main railway station and metro station, so a lot of public transport, we said you can maybe use this for making a lot more houses, make them a little bit smaller, and the amount of meters or square meters that you save, you can give it to communal functions. So that was an idea of Ymere.
Mm.
Yeah, to do it this way, and especially because it was so close to all public transport in the middle of the city, we said it's maybe a good idea to try it here. And they went to Sweden or something, or Norway, on an excursion, because there were a lot more projects already done to see how it worked, and yeah,
Mm.
so that's how that happened.
Are you building another one like that?
Not like now, at the moment.
Some
Yeah.
parts of it maybe.
Yeah.
So the shared washing room
Yeah.
For when you build really small houses
Yeah.
can be interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, when something is new, you have to evaluate it and
Yeah.
check what can be better. And of course, always things can be better. But that's interesting to try things and learn from them.
Yeah.
And this is about sharing economy, and that's kind of the thing they tried in Eenhoorn, I
Yeah.
guess.
And one of the tenants was really into it. She said, "It's not from this time, and it's not normal anymore that everybody has their own washing machine." And I was like, "Yay!" Yeah, because we have so much stuff in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe we should share a little bit more. It would be better.
Yeah, the participant we spoke to
Yeah.
yesterday, he's very happy with the
Yeah.
communal spaces because, so he's visually impaired. So for him, he really likes that somebody can use the communal kitchen
Mm-hmm.
and make him food,
Mm.
and he can buy food for a very decent amount,
Yeah.
and so I think
Yeah.
that's a good
And
system.
other people need really to get used to it, or more traditional and want their own washing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You still
It's not
keep
for everybody.
all the
yeah.
differences in people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's a
exactly.
habit because in Switzerland,
Yeah.
it's the
Norm.
norm.
Yeah.
To have communal spaces for
So you
washing
have
machines.
Yeah.
no one has washing
Nobody
machine.
has.
Oh really?
It's a very luxurious thing to have your washing machine
Right.
at home.
I like that.
Even in the private sector.
Really?
Yeah,
In
the communal.
Switzerland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't expect it from Switzerland at all.
Yeah.
Exactly. They have 90-meter square
Yeah.
homes, but they share washing machines.
And in a very
okay.
Swiss manner, they have a schedule, you have certain
yeah.
allocated hours, and
Oh, yeah.
that's it.
And
That's
every
nice.
single participant complained about the
Not enough.
fights that were happening because of the.
That you
like
keep your washing
yeah,
here.
I mean,
Well, they
you
complained
leave
and
your
then they
washing
said,
there.
and then
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's okay,
difficult.
it's
You
okay.
need more regulations when you share things.
Yeah.
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 And also, do you wash the things of your pets in this thing or not.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of things about that.
Yeah.
So
it becomes
you need to
another,
regulate it.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I mean, eenzaamheid, loneliness is also a big problem. So yeah. But I think it's really nice that you have done this internationally, so you can compare these
We get
countries.
really different.
And we have more arguments to say, look, in Switzerland everybody does it.
It's also like how people adapt their homes. Like for example, in Barcelona, a lot of the people maybe weren't expecting to get exposed concrete or floors, and so then they would be like, but this is not finished. And then they would be like, no, it's finished, and then like it's very in. And so a lot of them would cover them with a lot of things. So it's also interesting to see the studio flats. They're completely different because some of them put tiles, others put wooden floors. Like carpet. Like it's completely different, even though it's studios.
Yeah, and that's interesting and nice when you can provide it to make it a bit of yourself. Still, when it's something you rent. And when you don't have a big budget also.
I think because it's a lifelong tenancy, they know if they buy something and if they're not going to move, they don't have to move, they don't have to carry. One of the participants yesterday had a custom built
like a sliding bed.
Sliding bed in Jakoba. She's in Jakoba.
Yeah.
Really nice.
She called a carpenter, built this thing on rails.
Wow.
So she moves that in the night, her TV is on that, then she has a bedroom, and in the morning she pushes it back to the wall, and then she doesn't see the bed at all during the day. And it's beautiful.
We were
You only do that when you stay there. Indeed.
Yeah, really creative.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're
welcome.
welcome.